think are your greatest strengths and your greatest weaknesses as an actor?
Oh man, what a loaded question. I think weakness is an easier thing to grasp right now. but
I'm just
but
gonna
I'll
say,
find the strengths.
okay, okay,
I'll
okay.
find them. I'll find them. I think my weaknesses are that I tend to think way too much about something. A certain aspect of my work, I tend to focus a lot on that when it goes wrong. And like I'm continually trying to make better because it's always going to be a journey. You're never going to get to where you want to be because there's no perfect actor and there's no perfect show. There's no perfect run of anything. There are ways of making things better. So one of the things that I do is that if something goes awry in a scene or I feel really bad about a certain show or a certain moment in a show, I tend to harp on it. And I harp on it until I get the opportunity to rectify it the next show. And I think that's a little detrimental because of the fact that, you know, things happen on stage and you got to just let things happen. And if they fall apart, they fall apart. It's part of the beauty of theater. Like
Live theater, friends,
yes.
live theater.
Yes. So yeah, I'm trying to be better about not overanalyzing things and just allowing what happened to be. A strength. Oh boy, I'm trying to think of a strength here. Okay, I guess that I'm pretty ridiculous and silly in the way that I think and the way that I act and the way that I interact with people that it sometimes bleeds into my work. And I think that that is actually a strength because when you think about theater, it's all about play and it's all about, just doing what your imagination tells you to do. And I think that one of my strengths is I'm not afraid to be silly and I'm not afraid to be hammy. I'm not afraid to take certain quote unquote stupid risks, because there's always going to be a director there to say, okay, that's a little too much. Just reel it back in. There's never any bad in trying to take a silly risk. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think I'm more prone to making those silly choices, which I think is a strength of mine.
I think that's a very big strength of yours. I was gonna say when you couldn't find a strength, I thought, um, improv. Friends, improv is no joke.
It really isn't.
It is a real skill that you have to develop. And, a lot of the times as actors, everybody thinks that we're all improvisers. We are not. We are
Oh
not.
man,
So I can
no.
only imagine that that is a huge, huge strength of yours that you take to each of your jobs.
As you know, there's like a beautiful spontaneity with our work. Even though you've spent how many weeks rehearsing and you get everything of the show crafted perfectly, there's always the possibility that something unexpected can happen. And I think that's what I love about live theater, that there is that possibility. It doesn't always happen and it could sometimes rarely occur, but when it does, there's no way you could be more in the moment than when something goes wrong. And in order to adapt to that, one, you have to have an amazing courage, which I don't know if I have, but you also have to have amazing wit, which again, I don't know if I have. But you also just have to have, I think, a propensity to be open and vulnerable and be accepting of what's going on. So accepting of the thing that's messed up and then figuring out how you're going to get the ball moving again.
On that note,
Oh, okay.
what's the funniest thing or most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
Well, there are many. There are a lot of moments looking back where I wish that it didn't happen, but I'm grateful that they happened because they were just amazing. I worked at Stratford for a couple years and well, I had to go on for an understudy. As you know, understudying is a crazy, crazy thing. Anytime you put an understudy in a show, like it's just gonna be
It's gonna be
beautiful,
exciting,
exciting.
beautiful chaos.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Beautiful chaos. This was my first season at Stratford, and it was The Three Musketeers, which is a crazy show. There's so much happening, and there's so many like ins and outs to that show. It's just wild. I understudied 7 different tracks in that show. It was it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. So I went on for one of my tracks and I was acting alongside the beautiful and wonderful Deborah Hay. And I was just so grateful to be on stage with her because this was actually my first theater gig, equity contract. I'm in the scene with her. It's going great. I've had a great run so far. And the moment comes where we are like, she's conspiring and she's manipulating me, and she manipulates me and gets me to kiss her. And there's this embrace, and it's like awesome. And I'm just like on cloud nine. And then we kind of like wisp away into one of the exits. So as we're wisping away, I clip the edge of the festival stage at Stratford and I fall flat on my face. And when I say flat on my face, I mean like splat on my face. There's no covering that I fell. Like if someone was watching, they would say that guy fell. You know, like when they say you have an outer body experience, this was kind of like an outer universe experience. like I was off into the cosmos somewhere looking down on planet Earth, and then it was just pinpointing this one moment in time where I'm flat on the floor of the Stratford Festival stage. It felt like an eternity, but in reality it was like a second because I knew that I had to make an entrance right away and I had to run around and do like a crazy a crazy track to get to my next entrance. So I literally pop back up. Like it's like a whack-a-mole, you know, like how those so I pop back up and I'm like booking it off stage with Deborah Hay in tow. And all I hear from behind me is Deborah Hay losing it. Like she's just laughing and she's trying to get my attention. She's like, Andrew, Andrew. And I'm like, nope, nope, I gotta make another entrance. And then I think she was trying to make sure I was
I'm
okay.
sure she was trying to make sure you were okay.
Yeah. But you know, like the term deafening silence, when I fell, I never understood that term more. I heard the impact and then I just heard nothing.
Oh my god, you're making me have a smile headache.
I love when stuff like that happens.
It's the absolute best. I mean, as long as nobody gets hurt. So
Nobody gets hurt,
we didn't
obviously.
get hurt. There are people that have fallen off stage.
Yep.
That's not funny. I didn't mean to laugh.
I did a show at Buddies in Bad Times called Free Outgoing, acting opposite to Sanjay Talwar, our good friend. And there's a moment in the play where I have to kind of like nudge a bent, like a little table out of the way to get to him. Like it's a very aggressive approach. And maybe I ate a little too much cereal that morning. You know, it got me a little too amped up. And I kicked this table into the audience. Like I kicked it straight into the audience. And Anusri Roy, who was also in this scene, she locked eyes with me. And as I kicked it away, I could hear the faintest like old lady gasp, like like oh, oh. she's deadlocking my eyes, Anusri, and I could see her about to laugh. And I'm like, oh my god, I just killed an old woman. Like I legitimately thought that. But thankfully, nobody got hurt. It just landed like really close. That was a scary moment, for sure.
These moments are priceless. And sadly, they're gone. So we do the thing and then we have the moment,
That's
good
right.
and or bad, and then it's gone, which is what is so fantastic about theater in and of itself. That's why I would love to do more improv because as you say, like they're just moments of gold and or not, but
Yeah,
then they're gone. You don't have to take everything so seriously. Like
exactly.
if you can adopt that motif, theme,
Well, yeah. Well, I would say like it's just an ideal. Like it's
motto,
just
ideal.
a
I love it.
motto. Yeah. I think that's what we're always striving for as performers. You know, like to have that spark of spontaneity in our work, even though we've rehearsed it so many times and we've done the show so many times. We always want that possibility that something can be different. And even if it's minutely, if it's in a choice you make, or if it's in a way that you say a word, or if it's how you look at that person that day, we always wanted to have that sense of being alive and being different. And it doesn't always have to go to kicking a table into an old lady's face, but if it goes there, roll with it.
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite role or favorite show that you've done?
There's been so many like wonderful things that I've been a part of, that I've been really proud to be a part of. Recently, we were able to do at the Shaw Festival an adaptation of The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov, and I was really moved and honored to be a part of that because it was an adaptation that focused on South Asian immigrants coming to Canada. And that was such an important piece for me to be a part of because, well, I am part of the South Asian community, but also what I'm trying to look for now in the work that I choose to do is how does the audience that comes to see the show feel about the work that they're seeing? And what can I do to be part of a conversation that starts amongst whoever comes to see the show, a positive conversation? And what I felt was the positive conversation about that was the dialogue surrounding what it's like to be an immigrant coming to a country like Canada or coming to a country like the United States, and what that journey is, in terms of dealing with racism, dealing with acceptance, dealing with amalgamation into a society that maybe you don't want to be amalgamated into. And it really opened the conversation and dialogue into that. And what was even cooler for me was that when my parents came to see it, it was the first time that they actually saw their story on stage, and I was a part of that. And it was almost a full circle moment to me. I wouldn't even say almost, it was that for me, because I felt like finally I gave something back to them. It was just like a beautiful moment to be a part of that when they came to see the show, and just doing the show in general. Serena Parmar, who we both know, wrote the adaptation of The Cherry Orchard, and I'm always proud of that. Like when people ask me what's my favorite thing I've done, like I always go to that first now because of what it meant to me personally and what it meant to my family.
I love
Yeah.
that it wasn't necessarily about the role. It was about
Yeah.
your role in a production. You know what I mean? Just being a part of something that really does push the conversation forward, hopefully in a positive way. But
Yeah.
that's the point. For the very first time, your parents got to see their story told. And that's what I'm hoping that the Blacktor Studio helps us get to, telling stories that have not been told before and or told in a different way or a different perspective, a different point of view, so that everybody gets to see themselves portrayed in the media.
There's so many instances where, you know, wherever you're from or whatever ethnicity that you possess, there's always these stereotypical places that you're meant to fall into. And like what I'm interested in is, like we as people of color, we're so much more than, just those stereotypes. We're human beings, and we run the gamut in everything and anything on how we're represented. So it was important to me to have that representation, not just seeing people of color on stage, but how do you represent them in a truthful manner, and how do you truthfully tell their story, which is my story, which is your story, which is all our stories.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Blacktor Studio.
We've come to the portion of the show that I just recently added, and it is called Speed Round.
Oh no.
Clearly we all know what a speed round is. They're just kind of fun. I just love it. Just do it, Andrew.
Okay, I'll do it.
What time did you wake up this morning?
10.
What did you have for breakfast?
Cheese and toast.
Who's your favorite actor?
Robin Williams.
Good choice. What are you afraid of?
Being alone. Like just truly alone.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
My uncle and aunt live in Elliott Lake, and I've always loved going there. It's near Sudbury. It's magical. It's great. I love it.
What country have you always wanted to visit?
Japan.
If you could write a play, what it would be about? What would it be about? Speed round for Starr.
The inner life of dogs.
What's your favorite cocktail?
You know, I'm a good rye and ginger guy.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite dessert?
Donuts.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, listening to Britney Spears. I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure.
I love you so much. The reason I love you so much is because you said, I don't think that's a guilty pleasure, but I'll say it.